Aloha. We have Sally Marrack today. How are you today, Sally?
I'm doing great.
And you guys, are you on your, I understand you have a new place that you just kind of built?
Yeah, I'm sitting outside in our new place. We're off grid, which is a new experience. And yeah, I resigned from my job we built this owner builder. So it's a project that Keith designed the house. We built it, and we love it.
Well, I was going to say, if Keith's designed the house, okay, so what have you had to fix since you moved in?
Like the layout of the house, and it's a great place when we have the shelter in place. We love being here. So.
Oh, anyway, you don't have to give out your exact address, but you guys are on the Hilo side of the island, but whereabouts?
So we moved along the Hamakua coast. You know the Waikamalo Run.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that one?
Yeah.
So it went like kind of close to the turnaround of the 7 Mile, where there's the World Botanical Gardens. We're up a road from that, a couple miles. So we have beautiful view of a lot of cows and Mauna Kea and the ocean. It's a dream. We love it.
I'll tell you a story about the botanical gardens. You know, when we used to get biked out to the school for the Big Island International Marathon and run back in past the botanical gardens. Mm-hmm. One time I really needed a restroom. I really needed a lua. So I ran over, jiggled the door, and set off the alarms. It's like, oh, dummy.
Well, I've done that before, jiggled, but I've never set off any alarm. So.
Yeah, I didn't think there'd be an alarm. I just wanted to see if the door was unlocked so that I could, take a quick visit. But it was locked. And then, of course, I ran away as fast as I could and pointed at somebody behind me that they did it.
Well, and just so you know, that's a different botanical garden to the one that we live near.
Oh, you're talking about the other one. Oh, okay.
Right. So it's like Umauma, Hakalau, that area.
Yeah, old friend of mine, Dave, used to live in that area. I think he's actually moved to Panama or someplace. So where did you grow up? I kind of remember posts and stuff that you've done about where on your trips where you go back to Florida. So you grew up in Florida?
Yes, I grew up in Miami. Was born there. Stayed there until college, but went to school in Coconut Grove, Florida, and ran cross country there. It was a beautiful, beautiful place, and I've really enjoyed growing up there. But since having left, when I've gone back, I don't really care for Miami anymore.
Yeah, I can kind of understand that. I remember I passed through there years ago when I was going down to Panama, actually, and we visited a friend right on Biscayne Bay. And I remember that was the first time I heard the words Coconut Grove Marketplace, kind of, Coconut Grove area and stuff. Different community.
Yeah. And, but one thing is that the climate is very similar to Hilo. It's very lush. It feels like a jungle sometimes, everything overgrowing. A lot of the plants are the same. Now naupaka, hibiscus, but it's a lot is similar.
Wait, we don't have any of those palmetto bugs?
Oh, you're right. Okay, and we don't have snakes. So yeah, there are advantages to being here, definitely.
Yeah, I was down there. My sister was actually over, oh, what's the west coast of Florida? What's the town over there? I'm blanking, but yeah, she got married there, and I flew down when I was living in no, I was living here, and I flew to her wedding. She did say, "Make sure you bring deodorant," and I was like, "What are you talking about? Make sure you bring deodorant." Dude, as soon as I stepped off the plane, it was like, oh my God. So
Yeah,
what was it like when you were running cross country and stuff like that? Was it, did you even notice? I mean, as far as you always hydrated correctly and stuff?
Yeah, well, and actually I started running cross country in 7th grade. My sister got me roped into it. She introduced me to it, and I became addicted, and I haven't stopped. But yeah, running in Florida, I don't know, we didn't know any different, that it was hot, and really running then was like really before running clothes and running women's running bras, and so it's just like kind of you wore whatever, you went out there and you just did it.
And shoes were sneakers.
Right, right. I did wear running shoes, so.
Do you remember what brand?
I like Nike. And I would convince my mom that it was worth the money to buy me good shoes, because then she was just paying for the good shoes rather than paying for the doctor, or because of injuries. So I don't know if that was true, but I got the shoes I wanted.
Well, as long as you got the shoes you wanted, yeah, that's great. So when you were running there, was there any kind of was there preference towards the boys track team as opposed to the girls, or was it still pretty, I mean, was it pretty equal as far as the attention that you guys got, or did the boys get more attention?
No, it was pretty equal. And the girls cross country team was actually, I don't know if the word, but I guess better relatively. I mean, they were very good, but my senior year we won the state cross country meet. So it was, they have different classes, like single A, double A, triple A, and I think we were double A, but we won that year, and that was thrilling. It was great.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we had the same thing in Illinois and stuff too, where it was different classes and stuff. Yeah, a friend of mine, Candace Burt, she does these 200-mile ultra races, and she was commenting on how it seems like, and I commented actually, that it seems like even when the women outperform the men, like in soccer, where the women's national soccer team is much better, much more accomplished, the funding still goes to the guys' teams, and the attention still goes to the guys' teams, and we can't understand. I mean, we can get into that, but it isn't the way it should be.
Well, one thing that was different was, at that point, the girls were running 2 miles and the boys were running 3. And I remember my coach saying, they are going to switch it, or they're moving towards that. And I was like, oh, but I'm glad I only have to run 2 miles and not 3 miles. And he's like, Sally, you would be better at 3 miles. You're more of a distant, it would be to your advantage. But I didn't care. I just want to be done with the race.
Well, yeah. I mean, well, women can't run a 5K. What are you talking about? They can't do a marathon. I almost had Catherine Switzer a few years ago. I almost had her because I've been doing podcasts since like 2005. I almost had an interview with her back in the day too. I'm hoping maybe I can still, interview her and stuff. Yeah. So when you were in high school, then you where'd you go to college again?
Stanford. That's where I met Keith.
You're a Stanford person?
Yeah.
The tree.
The tree. Yeah. 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 I met Keith there. Actually, we didn't meet until senior year through a mutual friend, and we didn't start dating till like just a couple weeks before graduation. But I was staying out. I didn't have a job when I graduated, and I was staying in California to look for a job, and he was going to Berkeley for his master's. So we stayed together that year. Yeah, and then he proposed, and dragged me. We lived in Oahu. He dragged me to Oahu. We lived in Oahu for a couple of years, and then we went to the mainland for several.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I had no idea that you guys went to Stanford.
Yeah.
And did you participate in any athletic teams at Stanford, or?
No. And my cross country high school coach said, you could go run in college, and I was like, yeah. I don't know if I would. I mean, I probably could have gone somewhere, but when I got into Stanford, I was like, I didn't. I just wanted to go there. I didn't care about running on a team. So, of course, I kept running and did like their running club. And actually, the running club, I did it on and off. And when I did it, a lot of the runners were having some issues with the coach at the time, the Stanford cross country and track coach, and so people were quitting. And then they'd do the running club, and I remember going to the running club, and these people were amazing. They were so fast, they could barely keep up. I mean, I couldn't really keep up. So when I run with them, I would get quite a good workout in.
Oh, yeah. It is funny that sometimes, even nowadays, when you get, and it's not an official race, or it's just a pickup race, particularly on the mainland, I know. I had a friend that she was from South Carolina. She went there and she decided to do a 10K race. And it was like, she looked around and she actually recognized some of the people that were in the 10K race. They're like famous people.
Wow.
And much faster. We get, although I think we have a pretty good fast, particularly you, fast community as far as a lot of the participants we have at our races and stuff. So you guys, so Keith is from Oahu. So is that?
Well, actually, he was born in Hilo. Can you believe it?
He's a Hilo boy?
Yes, he was born in Hilo, the Hilo Medical Center. He lived in Hilo for a few years, and then his parents got divorced, and his dad moved to Oahu, and his mom moved to Waimea, and then he went to school at HPA. So he primarily grew up in Waimea.
Oh, okay. So when you guys were in Oahu, I would guess that you probably did Honolulu Marathon?
I did not. I wasn't running marathons at the time. I was running just to stay in shape. I didn't get into marathons until we worked at Nike. We stayed on Oahu for a couple of years. Keith did civil engineering, and I actually ended up working at the engineering firm as well. But then Keith said, I don't think I want to do this. It's not what I want to be more out in the field, and I want to do something else. So he applied to business schools, and he got in. We were going to go to Duke, and we were going to drive cross country, pick up our car in California and drive to North Carolina. And in the process, I was talking with Nike about a job, and because one of my classmates ended up working there, and that was a dream for me. I was like, how to work at Nike would be just
free shoes.
Amazing. So when we were driving cross country, we got as far as Chicago, and I got a job offer. And I was like, Keith, what do we do? And he looked at me, he said, I'm going to business school to get an opportunity like this. He said, let's go to Oregon. So we just turned around and headed to Portland. So we worked there, or I worked there for, he actually ended up working there too, like a year later, soon after I started. We did product development, footwear product development, and I worked with a women's basketball line, and then he actually worked in running. He did special makeups which is like when Nike does special color versions for like Foot Locker or, you know, certain other retail chains.
Oh,
So
branded stuff. Yeah.
it was a great experience working there. I mean, I did kind of run into some issues with being a woman and working there. So that was part of the reason that I think you probably read about that in the last year or so, about how they've had some issues. But when I was there, I mean, it was a great, they make it the Nike World headquarters is like a campus, and they make it so it's easy to work there, easy to, I mean, just stay there, and like, you know, you can go there and like take your dry cleaning, and they have a place to get coffee and a place to get beer, and, you know, it just makes it easy to stay at work a long time. So it was a wonderful atmosphere. They have a gym, they have classes, like fitness classes in the gym, and I got together with a group of women who like to run, and one of them has run. She's just a little bit older and had already run so many marathons. I don't know if you know Jeff Hollister. He was one of the first Nike employees. Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
That was his wife, Wendy Hollister, who got me into marathoning. So I did my first marathon when I was there. It was Avenue of the Giants. I mean, it was really in Northern California. But when I was working at Nike, and that kind of started it all.
Well, is that the race where you run in the sequoias and stuff?
Yes, it was beautiful. But I have to say, it was the first marathon for me, so it was a learning experience.
Wait, now I've been blessed to be at the finish with many people doing their first new marathons. Did you say the usual thing at the finish where you said, "I'm never going to do this again"?
I don't know if I said that. I remember in the beginning, I asked other women, I said, so what's harder? Is it harder to run a marathon, or is it harder to like have a baby and go through labor and delivery? And somebody said, oh, having a baby. I was like, okay, I think I could do. I hadn't had any kids at the time, but I just wanted to know what I was up against.
Yeah, the only comparable thing for a guy is having a kidney stone.
It was a beautiful marathon, but I learned several things through doing it.
Did you run into the infamous the wall at 20 miles?
I think I hit it a lot sooner because I think I ran too fast. I started out too fast. I know we're starting and it's beautiful and running, and Wendy, you know, we're kind of picking up, and Wendy goes, you better slow down. And we were like, oh no, we're fine. Oh my gosh. You know how that goes.
Oh yeah, been there. So I mean, you worked at Nike. You helped design products. People could be wearing stuff that you and Keith designed.
Yeah, well, it's long gone now, but yeah, it was very gratifying. And well, my major is product design engineering, and Keith's is civil engineering, but having that background helped.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I don't still have them. I wish I did. I could probably sell them for a lot of money. I had one of the first Nike waffle soled shoes long time ago.
Yeah, that Bill Bowerman started making out of his waffle maker, or his wife's waffle maker.
Yeah, not the originals, but you know, the first. Gosh, this would have been in the mid 70s when they started coming out with actual shoes that were for running. Mm-hmm. You weren't even born then, so.
Oh yeah, I was. I'm gonna be 50 this year.
Woohoo! New age group.
Yeah. Somebody said, oh, something about getting older, and I said, oh no, I'm looking forward to being 50. I'm gonna be in a new age group.
You're good. Yeah, you're gonna be the baby. You're gonna mess with everybody else in the age group.
Right.
Well, congratulations on getting into a new age group this year.
Yeah, thank you.
So you guys are at Nike. So then you decided to got a different job in Oahu.
So as we were at Oahu, and then we went to Oregon and worked at Nike. We were there for a couple of years, and I have to say that the rain in Oregon it's different than the rain in Hilo. It's, you know, like a constant mist for like 9 months. And I was used to seeing sunshine, and I was like, Keith, I don't know if I could do this. You know, it's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful in the summer. It's wonderful, and the running trails and the just, I mean, for running, it's wonderful. But we're like, okay, we gotta go somewhere a little sunnier. And we had already been on Oahu, and my family was in Florida, and we decided, we're like, okay, we've already lived with, you know, kind of near Keith's family. We're gonna try living near my family. And we also thought, you know, we're married for, you know, we've been married for a couple of years, and we're like, you know, eventually we wanna raise a family, and it'd be nice to be near family. So so we moved to Vero Beach, Florida, which is about 3 miles north of Miami. So it's it was nice. Vero Beach is a beautiful place. It's not as crazy as Miami. So we love living there, and there was a wonderful running club, the Sun Runners.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of kept up with running there, and I got faster and faster, just, you know, just running with more people and different speeds. And somebody, a good friend of mine he was trying to do the 50 states.
Yeah.
And that's when I got into doing more marathons, because I was training with him, and he's like, oh, well, you know, come do some of these marathons. So I wasn't doing the 50 states, but I was doing a lot more marathons. I think one year I ran, I don't know, like 10 or 11 marathons.
Oh, so you were a marathon maniac before there was marathon maniacs?
Right, I guess so. So you know, somebody's like, oh, it's not good to run that many marathons, but I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't do them all as races. I would just kind of, you know, I was like, oh, it's like a training run where they offer support. So it was just like living here. It's so nice to run where you're surrounded by people who like to run, and they're so supportive, and just, yeah, I miss those people, but now I have new friends.
So in Vero Beach and stuff, was there, I mean, I know it's flat.
Yeah.
But were there regular routes that you could run, or you know, did you have to basically run in a city kind of atmosphere?
It was mostly, you know, city atmosphere. We were on bridges. There were 2 really big bridges that, you know, they weren't drawbridges, so they had to go up, you know, pretty high. So that was our hill workout. And there's that area called Jungle Trail, which is, you know, it's flat, but it's like crushed sand and shell, so it's a little bit more giving. And that was, I can't even remember how many mile run, but that was like our weekend long run, is to go run on Jungle Trail.
And did the run start out? Usually there was like a store, you know, I can remember back in the day when it was Fleet Feet. Did they start out from, did the organized run start out from a running store or just from a park?
Just from a park. And then actually our last few years of living there, a running store did come into Vero Beach, Runners Depot, and then they started doing that as well. So, you know, they're doing run clubs from the store, and so that, and they're still in business. They're doing great. you know, just a great, and they sponsor runs as well. So
So
my mom lives in Vero Beach for part of the year, and she now gets into walking all of the runs, the 5Ks that they have, and she says, oh, you know, she'll tell me, I got a medal, I won my age group, and I'm like, that's great, Mom. And she said, but she's like, but I have to admit, there was only, like, either I was the only one or there's one other person. And I said, Mom, it doesn't matter. You got up and you were out there. You know, you're very deserving. I totally believe that. I mean, if other people are sitting at home having their coffee and she's out there walking, and
good for her. Good for her. Yeah, that's always been my strategy. Just you have to outlive them.
That's what I plan to do too. I want to run. I want to run forever, as long as I possibly can. You know, Jeff Galloway.
Yeah.
That was the first few marathons I did. It was a Jeff Galloway, the walk-run method. You know about that.
Yeah.
And I just liked his attitude about when he no longer was running Olympic caliber, you know, paces. He said, you know, I want to run forever. How can I do this? And so he, you know, realized that, okay, if he did a combination of walk running, he could do it. And I thought, that is what I want to do. I go out there and I challenge myself, but I don't kill myself. I don't have many injuries because I think I don't push myself I push myself, but not that hard, enough to get an injury.
Well, you did. I would imagine that you listen to how you're feeling during a particular race. If you know, if your knee is hurting or your hip is hurting or your back is hurting, you kind of adjust, right?
Right. And Boston last year, so in 2019, that was my 50th marathon.
Ooh, wow.
So, yeah, and I didn't even, like, a few years before that, friends were asking me, I was like, you know, I don't know how many I've done. I do jot them down. I was like, I've got to look. And I knew that I was close to 50. And somebody said, oh, you ran 50 marathons before you're 50. So yeah, I did that.
Was that wasn't your first Boston, was it?
No, I think that was my 6th.
Oh, geez.
So the first marathon I had, the Avenue of the Giants, was such a disaster in many ways that I had to do another one to experience, I don't know, the way it should have gone. So I did, I did one in Napa Valley, and
the wine one.
Yeah, and it was beautiful, and it was a point to point, so it was primarily downhill. And so because of that, and I learned so much of the first one, I qualified for Boston that year. So my second marathon, I qualified for Boston, and then I went on a Boston. I guess I did run Boston again before we moved to Florida. And then I didn't do many when we lived in Florida. I just got back into marathoning, and, you know, then I was doing 10, and I was like, oh, I guess I could qualify for Boston or go back. So I think I went back in 2006 maybe. And then when we moved out here, I'm like, oh, forget, you know, I'm just happy being out here, and it's so far away and it's so expensive, and then I got slower, and and then I was just, I don't know, back in, when did that, I can't, all my years are mixed up, but you know, I guess I realized one year, I was like, oh, I'm running faster again. You know, I think I could qualify for Boston again. And I said, I warned Keith, I said, if I qualify for Boston at Honolulu Marathon, I want to go. I think you know, can we swing it? And he's like, sure, you know. So I went and qualified for Boston, and then, you know, from then on, I think I've gone every year because it's really nice. I tie in going to Florida and visiting family. So it's just a nice, and Keith doesn't even go with me because it's tax time.
Yeah.
So with financial advisors, it's a busy time. So he hasn't joined me since, I think, before having kids. So it would be nice when Boston was delayed till September. We thought it was gonna be in September, and we planned to go together. It was gonna be wonderful.
Yeah. You and Amy Young, because Amy qualified too. Yeah.
Hey, we were gonna room together. Had it been in April, we were gonna room together.
Yeah, I don't know if Kendra was going to go or not. I think she was going to skip this year.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get her back next year.
So you've done Boston more times than you've done Honolulu Marathon?
No, because I've done Honolulu ever since we moved here to the Big Island. I've done it every year, and we moved here in 2007. So I've done it every year since then.
Okay. What do you think the chances are of it happening this year? I've noticed, John, the race director, he's been posting some stuff. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I would be surprised if it wouldn't happen, because that's a big marathon. There's so many people. I don't know how.
Yeah, they just had a kind of a test run, one of the informal runs that they have over in Honolulu, where they, were checking out how you could space people out, but man, with 18,000 to 26,000 people, which they probably wouldn't get anyway, maybe they get, I even say 5,000 people. Honolulu is pretty forgiving as it is as far as time goes. I mean, even somebody slow like me can finish the race, in plenty of time. But yeah, I really don't see it happening myself. It's like,
yeah.
Have you participated in any of the virtual runs? I haven't noticed. I haven't seen.
I have not. I'm not. I know, probably not for you, but I know a lot of people do virtual runs to, like get the medal, and the medal is very important. And I don't really care about the medal. I care about like the experience and like going there and doing it. So I haven't, except when they turned Boston into a virtual marathon, I was like, oh, I'm not going to do it. And then I started thinking about it, and then I was talking to Alan Ryan. He's like, we're like, oh, it would be pretty cool to have a medal and a shirt from the year that Boston didn't take place in Boston.
Yeah.
And we hope that this is like, a rare occurrence, and it's not going to happen like this every year. So I decided just a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it right before the registration, the sign up. So now I'm kind of in ramp up mode. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, you're in training.
So it doesn't really matter how fast I do it, but I want it to be enjoyable. So I'm starting to ramp up my miles, and I'm a little behind the curve, but
is it going to be in October then?
September.
September.
They give you like a week. I think it's like September 7th through 14th that you can run it. And it was $50, and they're going to send us a box of goodies beforehand, and then afterwards they're going to send us medal and shirt. And so I'm going to do it. And I wrote Kendra into training and running with me for the marathon. So maybe there should be some cookies involved in the finish.
Oh, yeah. I have in a cabinet here. I still have 2 cookies that I'm saving. They're getting a little stale, but we should talk. Do you know if Amy signed up? Because she did her Boston, in her neighborhood.
Right. I know that. And I haven't talked to her since. I know we were talking about it, like whether or not you were going to do when it was still going to be in September, and we were both trying to make it happen. So I don't know if she's going to do the virtual one or not. I should ask her and see if she wants to. Not that I can keep up with her, but if she wants to do the same course that I'm thinking, and it'd be nice to
Oh,
to know that we're both out there.
that would be great. That would be awesome. And if you're lucky, it'll rain.
Right. I know it's so hot these days that Kendra said the other day she was running, it was so hot, and she said, I'm thinking we should start at 5 a.m. I understand why.
Well, speaking of starts, now the Boston start has been notorious for, you got to get there early. You're standing around waiting a lot. You were racing the same year as Kendra when it was that miserable rainy year. Wasn't it like 3 years ago?
Yes. And it was crazy. And I'm so sorry that was Kendra's first Boston. I said, Kendra, you've got to come back. You've got to experience, well, I mean, Boston weather it's such a spectrum of, it can be really cold like that. I've never had it rain like that during the Boston Marathon though. It can be very hot, and it actually can range with a marathon day itself. It can be pretty cool in the start and then get hot. And then as you get close to the water, then it gets a little cooler. You never know what you're going to get. Like one year I thought it was going to be cold, and then I ended up running through, they opened up the fire hydrants because it was so hot.
So it is kind of like Hilo weather.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to say that water coming out of fire hydrants is really cold.
Yes, having been raised in Chicago, I've experienced that. So, and I didn't realize too when I interviewed Justin that he actually did Boston during the year where they had the bombings.
Oh, I did not do it that year, but I know there were some people from Hawaii, like Alan was there, Vicky Daniel, Lyman Perry, I believe.
Yeah.
They were all there. They finished before the bombs went off, thankfully.
Yeah, same thing Justin said. My good buddy Mike Rouse, I was actually kind of tracking Mikey, and he finished. But Mikey's older. Mikey's not my age, but he would have been in his early 60s then, or maybe late 50s. He beat it only by like 30 minutes, 25 minutes.
That's good. I think, what year was it that happened?
That would have been, God, it's almost like 6 or 7 years ago now.
Or even more.
Yeah.
But I remember one of the first years I got back into doing it, there were people out there who were in the year that the bombings took place, and some of them there were amputees, and they were back out doing it, and it was very inspirational.
Oh yeah, I mean, even nowadays, I'm inspired by people that, like our friend Elijah that lost his foot, doing motorcycle stuff and everything, and he's checking in now about different orthotics and stuff and everything that he can do. He's not giving up or anything. And at Ironman, having worked with Ironman for 25 years myself, I just whenever I think about my back hurts, my foot hurts. No.
I know, isn't that the truth?
Oh, and I got a friend. She's in Georgia right now, and she does 100-milers. And she's still running. She works at a Waffle House. I've asked her to, do an interview, but she's got like kids. She's working at a Waffle House. She's still running her miles and stuff. And she's just, I just can't believe some of the stuff that people are going through. I feel guilty that we are where we are. I can go out where I run pretty much every day, and I see cattle. I get to play with the horses every once in a while. These horses, in fact, right back here.
I know, what a beautiful, you live in a playground. I mean, a running playground.
Oh yeah. Well, you guys have you get to chase cows now, right, at your new place?
Yes, yeah.
Did you have any pigs there? I mean, they're
Oh, yes. Oh,
oh
we have pigs. We have a dog named Daisy, and she's, like a mid-sized dog. And I'll go for a walk or run, and she'll dart out, and then often, like a minute or two later, I'll hear squealing, because she's got a piglet, or so she's in heaven.
yeah yeah. Chase them, but don't catch them, please.
Yeah. Well, and if they're, at least she's smart enough to know when they're too big. She just barks. She barks at them, and then if they charge towards her, then she runs away, and then she'll bark at them again.
Oh yeah, I lived in Colorado for a lot of years, and I had a Keeshond, which is not a big dog, but he was 45 pounds. And when he first encountered elk, he didn't quite know what to do because it was like, I know they're food, but they're really big.
Yeah. I know. Just like sometimes there's some cows she doesn't, she's used to seeing, and then there are other. I think when she feels like she can get like a reaction from them and make them run, then she'll go after them, which is horrible. Um, and the bulls, she barks at bulls.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I posted a couple of days ago. I did a run up where I usually run, and I watched a dog bounce out of the back of a pickup truck on the way up. And people were going. There's usually a caravan of people that go up because they have their ATVs and
Oh,
stuff.
right.
And I was, waved to them and everything, and most of them know me. But it was like this dog just goes a barrel. Fortunately, it was a ranch dog. It's a tough dog. Kind of bounced up, looked at me, and went, "No, I'm not going to follow him," and ran back to the truck and got back in the truck. It was like, yipes.
Did it bounce out because of the terrain of the road, or?
I think it was partially. I might have been part of it because I was standing on the side of the road, and the dog kind of saw me and tried to go from one side of the pickup bed to the other side, and that's when the truck hit a bump, and
Yeah.
out he came and stuff. Speaking of rough housing and falling down and everything, not to say your kids ever fall down, but you got some pretty talented runners in your family there, Sam and John. I always forget Sam's older, right?
Sam's older. She's finished her first year of college, and John, he'll be a senior at Hilo High, and yeah, he runs cross country and track, and so yeah, he's always going after Alec Ankrum.
Yeah.
So yeah, Alec offers him a lot of competition.
Well, and another case of where I interviewed Laura, and I never realized that she had run in the Olympic marathon trials in the year 2000.
I know. I watched that interview you did with her, and I learned so much. I was like, wow. I mean, she's amazing.
And she's about your age group, isn't she? She's competition.
Yeah. I mean, well, she's faster than I am. But yeah, we could say she's competition.
Have you ever done? Let's see. You've done Honolulu. You've done Hilo International Marathon. You've done Kona Marathon, I would guess.
No, I haven't done the marathon. I've just done the half because I have just no desire to go do that course.
Oh, so you never did the original Kona Marathon? Where was that at Kona?
I did when it was the original. I did the half, and that year, it was quite a long time ago. But that year, by doing that half, I qualified to do the New York City Marathon.
Oh.
You can qualify for that. I mean, it's a lottery, but you can qualify. And actually, the qualifying times, some of them they're harder than Boston, but they have half marathon you can qualify by running a half.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I did run the old course, and I like that course.
Oh yeah, I love that course. That was, you didn't have to spend that much time on the highway. You got to run down into OTAC, but obviously the new course is a lot different.
Yeah, it's not the Kona Marathon. I mean, they should call it the Waikoloa Marathon.
Well, we could talk to Brent Inneman, because he owns it now. Have you ever done? So you've done. You've done Maui, and there's 2 Mauis.
I've done one Maui. I think I did it a couple times, and I'm not sure which is which.
The Maui Oceanfront Marathon run by Les from Lake Tahoe, that's in January. The other one's been usually in September.
I have a feeling. I think I did the one in September. It starts out at that mall and it finishes in Kaanapali.
Yeah. Yeah. The other one's nicer, actually.
Oh, okay.
The other one starts over in Kihei and runs and finishes right in Lahaina. So you don't have to run that section past Lahaina, all down over to the resorts and stuff. But I've done them both and stuff. Have you ever done Kauai?
Yes, I did it I think it was the first year it was offered, and it was beautiful, tough, but absolutely beautiful. And I even, when I finished, I was like, that was hard, but I would do it again. But I haven't done it again.
Yeah, that one, I always tell people that's the toughest of all the marathons on the islands, because of that section up by the golf course, where it's mile 18 to about 21. They kind of changed the course a little bit last couple of years, but it's 18 to where it's like Coloco. I mean, it's uphill. I mean, not at the stage where you want it to be uphill.
Right. So it's kind of like Heartbreak Hill.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
The same thing. But I loved it that, they had signs about, rooster crossing, and the crowds are great, and they have, how they have entertainment on the sides. But I also like the stretches where you were kind of out in just like open pasture land, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, it's really scenic, and the finish, where you're right along the ocean and stuff is really great. Yeah, they have halals dancing, they have taiko drummers along the whole course and stuff, and they have all the little different things. That's the first place I ran into where they had shave ice at one of the aid stations.
They did. Oh, they didn't have it the first year.
No, it's kind of varied every year, and that's where I got the idea. I actually bought a shave ice machine to use at Ironman, and actually West Hawaii Community Health Center now has my shave ice machine that they use for some of their events. I've no idea. You guys can use it and stuff. But yeah, so you've done all the marathons on the islands. You've done New York. You ended up doing New York then, yeah?
Yep. And I did it a year that Vicki Daniel and Alan Ryan and Lyman Perry, we all ended up. So that was really, it was fun. It was fun to be with them. And in the beginning of that run, we're running over the what is the bridge? The
Verrazano Bridge, I think.
Yes. I started crying because it was so beautiful, and they're playing New York, and I just really enjoyed the experience. My family came from Florida. My mom always wanted me to do New York because it's really an excuse for her to go to New York. She wanted to go to New York, and she had never. I was like, Mom, you can go to New York without me running a marathon. Because I also, let's see, she had gone to Boston. The first time I did Boston, she went to Boston, and she did New York, and then I did I think the Mayor's Marathon in Alaska, and my mom and dad came out for that. So there have been, I'm like a reason to go on trips, and I'm like, I don't enjoy the trip as much, like, the touristy stuff as much as you do. So I'm like, can we do a trip where I don't run a marathon? But I like doing that as well. I mean, it's nice when I have the time to experience a place after the marathon, even if I'm hobbling around a little bit.
Oh yeah, the infamous Waikiki walking downstairs pose. So where's Sam at school right now?
So she's at Emory University in Atlanta, but she won't be there. They just announced that only certain people will be back on campus. So she will probably go stay somewhere on the East Coast where there's more reliable Wi-Fi. With with us being off grid, it's a little challenging, and then also the time difference. For some of her classes, it would be in like 6 or 3 in the morning. So I hope they're invited back for the spring semester.
Oh, back on campus and stuff. Yeah, I think that's what a lot of the university and schools are doing. Remote learning. They just put out I just saw the DOE's letter to one of the schools about they're going to be doing half-day classes at the elementary schools here on the Big Island, supposedly, where all the classes are out by 11:15 a.m., I do believe is what the time frame is. And then doing remote classes for the rest of the day. So if that works out, we'll just have to see. Everything's day to day.
Right. I know it keeps on changing. And I think for John, for Hilo High, I think he'll only be going in like once a week because I think they're gonna split the school up into like 4 groups, and they have an odds day and an even day. So they're going to do like one group odds even, next group odds even. I mean, every school is doing it a little bit different. I think, which is nice that they have, they can decide what's best for their school or their students and teachers. But I don't envy them with trying to figure out what to do because I really don't have any good suggestions.
Yeah, I've been seeing they're trying to do it as pods, like dolphins have pods where they're trying to keep a core group of kids together. I remember, I think the Volcano School has put together, in the past, they put together pods, but they included like your 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade kids all progress together, because of their setup. So I would guess they would have to change that where they have to separate them now, but keep them still same 10 keikis, always in the classroom and stuff. So yeah, it's been a challenge for a lot of people. Certainly economically on the island, it's been a challenge for a lot of people and stuff. And it doesn't look like we're going to be opening up until September 1st. And even then, I just saw that there was something that Harry said that he's not even sure if that's possible.
I know. I don't know what they're going to do about cross country. I mean, I really hope that. I mean, it's non-contact. I would think they could figure it out, but I hope it's possible. It may be nice. It would be horrible for him to miss out on his senior year cross country.
Yeah, and I mean, who was doing the coaching again? I think Pat Baker.
Oh, he coaches at I think he used to coach at Pahoa, but then I think now it's like Haas, the same school I think that Amy teaches at, I believe.
That's right, and he just said that he was not going to coach. He just announced that he was not going to coach.
I saw that and I didn't know if that was a personal choice or if it was because they weren't going to offer it. Maybe a combination of things. I don't know. Do you know any?
Nah, I only know what he posted about that. He just it sounded more like a personal choice, which we all have to do it our personal choices. I don't know if any race. Kauai was the last one that just canceled. They canceled just a little bit ago. They were hanging on to be able to do the race, but then they finally turned it into a virtual race. And then, the Mana 10s that you and Keith set up, we're going to delay that till next year. And then Honolulu is the only one I still know of that considers they're going day to day and stuff. But it would have been next weekend would have been the Ohia volcano run, which was a great run. That thanks for Keely and Adam. To say the least, Keely's a little busy. But they wisely moved things forward and stuff. And the next big outside of Honolulu, I guess, and I asked, I ran into Ronnie over at Costco like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I asked her about the Jingle Bell Run. And she is in the same position as a lot of us are as race directors. We're not even trying to put in permits yet, because we don't know what the requirements for a race will be. And her race gets a lot of people. I mean, she gets 700, 800 people in her 5K race and stuff. So I would guess that that's probably not happening. The Hurt, which kind of surprised me, in January, they canceled until 2021. And then I haven't heard anything about, I haven't seen anything about this race yet.
What's that one?
That's the Gila Volcano 50K, which is usually the first week in January. Right.
And then the Hawaii Bird Conservation Marathon, that's in December. That Alan has become the race director, and I asked him like a week ago. I said, what are your plans? He said, just the same as like a holding pattern, just waiting and seeing. I think that one does attract a good amount of people from the mainland who are trying to get Boston qualifying times.
Yeah.
But he said he may do it more of a local, a smaller local race.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I asked him, he told me last time I saw him, he said, well, you're in. Because I asked him, I said, it was conflicting with, Honolulu was always like the week before, week after. And then the Jingle Bell Run turned out to be on the same weekend one time. And so I had to skip it last year because I've done that one. He puts on a nice race. What's the guy? Bob Kennedy. Originally set that race up. Bob's a really super duper guy, and they set up a good race, a good, small kind race, but still a good course and everything. And so that's good to hear. That might still be on the calendar, because I think that one, if he did it as a local race, I think he could meet all the requirements.
I think so too. That one's fun. I've done that one the last 2. I don't know how many years has it gone on. 2 years.
I think it's like 3 years now. Yeah.
And I've done it. I've done Honolulu and the Bird Conservation Marathon, and people are like, "Oh, you're crazy," and I'm not doing it to go. Oh, I want to do so many marathons. I always, when they had Hilo to Volcano, I love downhills. I'm like, oh, I wish they would do it the other way one year.
Yeah. And
then when they created this Bird Conservation Marathon, I'm like, this is what I asked for. This is what I want. And he's like, well, you better do it. I was like, am I crazy to do it? He goes, well, yeah, of course you're crazy.
Yeah.
So I did it. And even though when I start, I'm like, my legs are still, they're still kind of fried and everything, but I just do it. I just love being out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was fun. I did the same thing I did. I did Honolulu and the Bird Sanctuary, and it's like, oh, it's another weekend,
Right. I remember the Kendra and I did it, and we ran by you, and I think you were wearing a skirt that year.
Oh yeah. That would be the rainbow tutu.
Yeah.
No, that's a fun race. We're lucky, we're really lucky. Have you considered anything for like 2021, or is that just too far ahead as far as any races or anything?
I mean, I do Honolulu every year. So if they have it, I'll do it. And then Hilo for the Big Island, I do it if we're around. A lot of times we're traveling because it's spring break for the kids, so we'll do a little vacation then. So and then this year I was going to do the marathon, the Hilo marathon, and then when they postponed, I was going to do it as a Boston training run, but when they postponed Boston, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to do that, which is fun. I ran with Keith and Kendra the whole way.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I remember you guys out there. Yeah, I am signed up for the 2021 Hilo or Big Island International Marathon, which again presents the problem for me. I know you guys have done it before too, where if we do the Run for the Hops, the Brewfest 5K or 10K, in the past it's been on that my race, the race that I'm race director for, has been on a Saturday, and then the next day is the marathon. So
yeah, and I've never done that Run for the Hops, but I've heard just such great things about it and how fun it is.
oh, there's beer at the finish.
I know, I know. But is that as good as Fireball?
Yeah, I think for most people it probably is. Oh, I will still schedule the Fireball Mile. My friend Mike Rouse's birthday is like the first week in October, which is usually when Ironman is, and Ironman has been postponed to February, same weekend as Super Bowl. I don't know if that's going to happen. And so I will still do the Fireball Mile, which you can participate no matter where you are. Well, it'll be a virtual Fireball Mile this year.
Have you done that for a few years?
Yeah, this is like 4 years. I started doing it about 4 or 5 years ago. It was actually Maui Marathon. We were over with Mikey and Cammie at his time, his wife, and we were doing Maui Marathon, and Mike was the evil person who introduced a bunch of us to Fireball, and then it just kind of became a thing.
So you run a mile and then you drink Fireball, or
you drink one of these to start, at the start, and then every quarter mile you drink another one of these. So you end up with
quarter mile?
4 of these.
Quarter mile. You drink,
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I would pass out before I started.
Most people say that they're fine until that third or the last shot, and then it's like all of a sudden they feel very warm.
Oh my gosh.
I'm still working on Camille Herron. I don't know if you know who Camille is.
No.
She's a famous runner and stuff. And she always wears red socks or a red top. She's sponsored by Nike and a bunch of other people. She's a pro. And I always tease her that I'm glad to see that she's representing Fireball.
Well, if you have Fireball, if you have that run, I'm going to go and I want to watch you and cheer you on.
Well, I don't know if cheering is exactly. The first year we had 16 people signed up because it was the week before Ironman. We had 14 people finish. Somewhere we lost 2 people. We never saw them again. And then we had 2 people throw up. So
that's actually amazing.
well, you must remember back in the day when it was the old Big Island International Marathon course where we got biked up or bussed up to the school and then ran down in that one little neighborhood where the speed humps are and stuff. They always used to have beer. One of those houses there, somebody had beer every year.
I don't remember that, but I also, the Honolulu Marathon, there's always beer too, and I never take it, but Kendra, of course, does.
Well, you guys are fast enough to get there before they run out because that's on Diamond Head on the way back. Yeah.
Right. Oh, they run out?
Yeah. Oh, yes, they do. But the last year, I didn't do Honolulu last year. I skipped it. But the year before, I was fast enough for 2 years in a row to get beer from them and stuff. So marathons and stuff. Has there ever been a marathon where you go, I'm really never going to do this one again?
I don't I don't think so. I can't think of one that was that bad. I mean, it's usually not the course, it's usually me.
Well, is there one marathon that you haven't done that you would love to do? I just did the what's the marathon in South Africa. It's actually longer than a marathon. It's a 60K and stuff. The Comrades, which is a rather
You did that?
yeah, the virtual one,
Wow.
you know. And is there one race that you've ever thought about, man, I'd really love to do that?
Not really. One that I haven't, a big one that a lot of people have done that I wouldn't mind doing is Chicago. I've never done Chicago. And a beautiful one that I did one 50-miler in Montana when I was doing all those marathons.
Oh, we lost your sound there for a little bit.
When my friend was doing the 50 states and we were running a lot, and he's like, you should do an ultra. And I'm like, oh, I was like, oh, well, like a, what is it?
50K, yeah.
50K. And I was like, oh, I could do that. And he's like, oh, no. Let's do a 50-mile. 50K is like nothing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know. And then he was so good at planting the seed and then just kind of working on, and then before I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds great. And so we did, what was it? Le Gris Ultra Marathon. And it's just a small, but it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. But I have to say, like towards the end, like the last 10 miles, I'm like, oh, I only have 10 miles to go. And then I look at my watch, I'm like, but at the pace I'm going, it's going to take me so long. But I finished.
Oh, hey, wow. 50 miles is nothing to, that's quite an accomplishment. So was it a trail run or a part road or?
It was road, but it was, like kind of like, like roads around here, just more country-ish.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, like people who do Hurt 100, I'm like, I don't know how they do it. I admire them and I'm very impressed, but I have no desire to do that.
Well, Alex and Billy, Alex, I can actually call her Alex Barnett now since her and Billy got married on the mainland there. They're doing a wine run down at the vineyard and stuff. I think it's like 2 hours, 3 hours, or 6 hours. You can sign up for however many hours. So I'm signed up for 6 hours because that's normally how long it takes me to do anything.
When is that going to be?
That is next month. It is like, I want to say August 20th, I think is when it is. That whatever weekend that is and stuff. You could find it. It's under Hawaii Mountain Running, I think is her website and stuff.
Okay.
It looks like it might be fun. I can give you tips about Chicago. It's the only marathon Is it the only marathon? No, it's the first marathon that I DNF'd.
Was that a long time ago?
Long time ago, I was running with my nephew in honor of his dad, who had just passed away, who was a runner and stuff. And we had his dad's ashes, and I still have his dad's ashes because we didn't finish the race and stuff. Yeah, I had knee issues. Yeah, so I took the meat wagon back to the start line, which is, you never want to do that. It was a horrible experience. The only other one that I've actually DNF'd as far as a marathon goes is they were doing a Maui one that was from the Whale Center to Eo Valley and back.
Oh.
Yeah, they only tried to do it 1 year. They usually do from Eo Valley to the Whale Center, which is a half. But 1 year they tried to do it out and back. Pacific Island Roadrunners, I think, were doing it and stuff. And I got up to the the highway there, and I went, no, screw this. I'm turning around and going back.
So are there any marathons that you would recommend?
Well, you've already done Kauai, because I always recommend that one. LA is quite a trip. It's one of those big city kind of ones that, you know, I don't know. You got to be into, you know, a zoo kind of atmosphere, like Honolulu, kind of. There's a couple other. There's a steamboat marathon in Colorado, which is kind of like the bird sanctuary one, because it starts in outside of Steamboat and runs into the town, into Steamboat. And it's usually in June, I believe. So it's a little bit cooler. It's not really hot. And it's at altitude. You know, one year it was snowing when we started, and then we finished in the rain. So it'd be like Hilo. And I'd say, I know a lot of people have had good experiences at New York, but you've already done that one. I'd recommend Chicago. I hear it's hard to get into nowadays, is what I heard.
As is everything, it seems.
Yeah, you remember when it was just like, show up and can I sign up today? Well, sure, you know.
Right.
We'll take your.
Even Boston, like I would qualify for Boston, and they would open it up, and I mean, I would just kind of wait and see, like, you know, with family planning and, you know, traveling, and I would wait to register, you know, just a little bit before, and, you know, it was no big issue. And now you've got to, you know, run faster than the qualifying time, and it's crazy.
Well, I'm excited that you guys, hopefully that you, Kendra, and Amy can get together and actually do the virtual one together. I think that would be really, really nice. Yeah. So kind of, you know, I've kept you longer than I told you I was going to keep you, but is there any advice you can give people, let's say, as they're starting out in marathons or starting out running, especially nowadays, that, you know, has led to you being a successful, knock on wood, non-injured runner?
I would say you got to enjoy the process. I remember training for a marathon, and, you know, when you get to those 20 milers on the weekend, and I'm just kind of like dragging myself out of bed and to do them, and I'm like, oh, I'm just doing it for, you know, whatever marathon I was training for. And I realized, it's like, this is crazy. I was like, if I'm not enjoying this, why am I doing this? You know, I kind of just changed my attitude. I was like, I want to get out here, and I want to enjoy the training runs, get together with friends, you know, make it social. And I just do it for enjoyment. And if you're doing it for other reasons, it's probably not going to last. Like, the goal is you're going to do it, but I'm thinking for the rest of my life. So I want to enjoy the process.
Oh, I think that's perfect words to kind of finish up today. Appreciate your time. I know you're a busy person. So again, we can do a virtual fist bump here, maybe.
Okay. I don't know where's my.
Very good. Thank you, Sally.
Thank you, Joe.
So big mahalo to Sally Marrack for submitting to our interview here. She is so talented. You know, there's so much I didn't know about her as far as her going to Stanford graduate, working for Nike. Quite an amazing career that she's had as a runner, and certainly as a mom. I've seen her kids grow up and everything. But thank you, Sally, so much for being able to sit down and talk story with us a little bit. And again, if you want to support our little Big Island Hawaii Ultra podcast here, you can either subscribe on YouTube, which is fine if you can. Otherwise, you can catch us on iTunes, on just about any platform that you can get a podcast on. And if you want to donate, we'll be putting up a link on the show on Facebook, so that the Sunset Runners in Hilo. We're going to put a link hopefully up for them so you can donate to them. And if you want to donate to us, you can donate to us at www.patreon.com/Hawaii Ultra. You can also go to the webpage and watch the videos or listen to the broadcast on the webpage, which is hawaiiultra.com. And if you want to, you can catch us on Stitcher. And like I said, on iTunes, it'd be great if you could do a review. And you can always email me at joe@hawaiiultra.com. So hope everybody is staying active, staying outside if you can, staying responsible, and showing aloha.